Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today's Friday morning ramblings is going to be all about really getting seeds started early. Although it's 70 degrees, or will be today, the frost will still come back. But there's a lot of plants we can get in the ground. I'll be talking about them and show you some ways of how to get stuff started early. Friday morning ramblings is now also a sponsored video. Today's video is sponsored by BioGreen, and this is their Super Dome, which I do recommend. When you're picking up this type of dome, I'm going to use it for plant acclimation, warming the space, transitioning plants outdoors. There are really three things I look for. You want a higher quality material from which it's constructed so that it lasts, reinforced zippers, which this has, and you want something that sets up really easily. The hoops or the U metal pieces are stitched right into here, so it all fits right in to a bag like this. Took me 5 minutes to set it up. Just pop it up. Covers 9 feet of space. I'll be starting peppers early in there. Also be putting out some of my transitioning plants into this. But that's what you want. Something that covers up the space, sets up easily, and then I can just squeeze it back down, stick it in the bag, and it's good to go. I'm also using these polycarbonate tunnels, or polycarbonate pieces of plastic, to create these tunnels. And these have been out for probably at least 4 weeks, warming the ground. I'm going to be putting beets in there. Let me show you some of the other ways that I'm using this plastic here in the garden right now. I'll also show you what I set up for my tomato plants. I set up all the beds for those already. Staked them, fed them a little bit. I'll show you that. And then we'll end the video actually. We'll go up to all the plants that I had growing upstairs. I've brought them outside for acclimation. I want to talk about that, although sometimes it bores people. You really have to transition your plants out slowly when they've never been in the sun, or you're going to kill them off. So in this section I've started a lot of the cool weather crops. Crops I'd like to start now, bok choy or pak choy, peas, radishes, spinach, lettuces, your cool weather crops. And I've set up a couple containers that is leaf mold on top, peas over there, this is some more spinach, radishes in there. I just want to show you how I plant the cool weather crops. For peas, I'm just doing about 1 inch deep, 1 to 2 inches apart, and then I make a row. I put them along the fence, maybe someplace they have to trellis, drop in 1 or 2 seeds, it's up to you, water in and cover over. For radishes, same thing, trying to keep it simple. They only have to go down about 1/4 inch deep, about 1 inch apart, and I put in 2 seeds if you want, thin them down to 1 once they break the surface, and you can put them a little bit more closely together. Harvest every other when they're small, and then that'll leave, let's fix that. That will leave a bigger space for those radishes to get, you know, to full size. So you can cram more into a single space. You just have to kind of thin them, but you can thin them in a way that you're going to be eating the smaller radishes. That's spinach that overwintered. It was actually in here. I moved it out. So along the back, peas, then radishes, 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 and in the corners I think I put in some spinach. This is all set up. Keeping this on here because last week all the nights were getting into the 20s. So this is a way to accelerate germination, get them growing. Because they're seeds, they're breaking the earth with the sunlight. You're not going to have to acclimate them. Just dropping the plastic right on top there. One word of caution, this is very light, so make sure you weigh it down or it's going to get blown off. It's not really that big of a deal because they are cool weather crops. They can handle the cold, they can handle a frost. So I will link BioGreen's dome in the video description, and I will also link how I set up and built this, because this is the simplest way to build a polycarbonate or plastic tunnel. And I think I did this maybe last week or so. See if I can keep my shadow out of here. The stakes form the shape, and you can see the radishes are already coming up all the way down the line along with some other weeds. But you're going to be able to start several weeks early by using this type of plastic to create a low tunnel over here. The lower the tunnel, the more it uses the warmth of the earth to keep it warm. If your tunnel gets up too high, like you're going to 3 or 4 feet, lots of cold air mixes in there from the surrounding temperatures, and it kind of defeats the purpose. The lower plastic keeps the warmth in, and you can see really nice germination. This will be my first wave of radishes. Radishes aren't going to germinate when the nights are getting into the upper 20s, they're freezing. The seeds will be okay, but use this plastic and you'll be able to get crops, you know, plants, harvest, whatever, sooner to your table. This is my other cold frame. These were planted up from last year. I'm going to move this because I've already talked about it. I put a lot of stuff all over the garden rather than concentrating it in one place, and it just doesn't make sense. So that cold frame is going to get moved. That is some base mix that I made. I will link that video too for my 2-minute tips. As I'm taking edging from around the property, I'm mixing it with half peat moss, throwing in some fertilizer, some other stuff if I want, and I'm using it to fill up and top off my raised beds. These raised beds were filled with shredded hardwood. They ran into a problem with wireworms, which I think maybe came in with the mulch because they were only focused on these beds. So I'm going to treat that with beneficial nematodes, some neem oil and stuff like that. But being wood chips, they settle down as they decay and break down, so I do have to refill the bed. Also putting that 4 inches, 6 inches of earth on there. One thing I want to talk about to maybe save you some money, when you're filling raised beds this size, edged sides, or something taller like those root pouches, you can put poor material in the bottom, okay material in the middle, and you really want the top 4, 6, 8, 10 inches to be the better stuff. That's where the shallow roots of your plants will grow through that, get the nutrients they need, do well, while the roots go down into the other stuff, which they will get moisture and nutrition out of, but you don't have to worry about the stuff down lower being better quality. Let that just break down and decay over time. Like I usually put wood chips in there, some leaves, grass clippings, sticks, whatever. I did that in these bags too. You don't need to spend a ton of money to make perfect soil. Perfect soil is going to really come over the years as you amend it, add to it. Here's another way that I'm using the plastic. You know, again, with the deeper edges, that plastic stays in place, but I did put something there just to keep them, to keep the plastic tunnel from blowing off when the wind comes, because when the wind comes, it is pretty light. This is just lettuce or spinach and carrots from last year, letting that warm up. This is a bigger construction project that I built with 2 pieces of the plastic. Now, it does get a little bit of expensive. It works. It is good, I think, for the bigger crops. I'm still experimenting with this, but it's effective. If you want something larger, I do recommend the Superdome. The Superdome is just, you're going to get more space, easier to set up, less work, less construction, and it's fully functional. Now, I don't know if you've been watching my channel or not, but along this space is where I put into these pots. Last year I actually did kale. That was okay. I didn't need all that kale. I'm going to go back to growing 1 or 2 pepper plants per pot, and this is going to be my row of peppers again. And you can plant 2 pepper plants in a pot that size. The bottoms are cut out. The plants may be a little bit smaller than if you only had 1 in there, but the production is going to be almost twice as much. Peppers can be planted much more closely together than one might think. And I've been doing that for, well, at least 5 years, maybe 10 years. So tomatoes, I always get asked the question, how many tomato plants do I need for a family of 2, family of 4? And the answer is really, well, how many tomatoes do you eat and what do you want to do with them? If you want to make sauce, you're going to need 6, 10 plants. If you just want cherry tomatoes with salads, maybe some tomatoes for slicing, maybe 2 cherry tomato plants, 2 larger slicing type tomato plants. I took all that into consideration, and I'm going to be having 25 tomato plants. I'm going to be concentrating them in one space. So last year, I'll link that video too in the description. I set this up for tomato plants. I used wood ash, alfalfa, the mulching that you see there. Nothing special, but you can do a lot towards the end of the season to have your plants thriving come spring and summer. Now, this will also be set up with alfalfa pellets. I'll be doing a video on that. So if you missed it, it's not like you lost out. You're just going to prep these beds early spring. Give them at least 30 days to sit. Even though, again, it's beautiful. Every year I get duped by Mother Nature. I put my stuff out early. 30 years in a row, a frost still comes. So be patient, but you can set the beds up. So along here are going to be 4 cherry tomato plants, 4 of my favorite varieties. Last year I had 4 on the left, 4 on the right. That was too much. So the cherry tomatoes are going to grow right up here. Maybe I'll have some cucumbers over there. 4 larger tomatoes, the 1-pounders, 12 ounces, 16 ounces along here. Love these posts. They're 8 feet. They're about $6. They're going to last forever. Have everything set up. So that is 8 tomato plants right in there. Coming this way, going to have 4 more in this space. Another 4. So what are we at? 4, 8. That's 16. Trying to keep everything in the same space so that when I'm spraying, I can make a spray and just come along here. However, right across this way, I'll go slowly so I don't make you motion sick. We'll talk about the guys down here. Oh, see this blew, oh, actually that didn't blow off. I forgot to put it back on after I watered it. Same exact plantings of peas, radishes, and spinach over here. I've been covering it, except for last night because I forgot to. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, same planting there, same planting there. So I'm seeing if this plastic covering this at night over the weeks accelerates germination and growth, which I think it will. Last night I think it was 47 degrees, so it'll be fine. Cucumbers will eventually be put in here, but your cool weather crops, because they're going to grow and be gone by the time some of your warm weather stuff comes up, you can use the space early for peas, the pak choy, radishes, spinach, lettuce, etc. If you were going to put kale in there, kale grows the entire season, so this space would then be dedicated to kale. Just be thinking, you want stuff that you're going to harvest and remove before the warm weather crops come in. And then coming back this way, not sure what I'm going to be growing on here. You can see that it's all in transition. I've been moving a lot of stuff around. The other tomato plants are going to go right into this small space. There's going to be 9, so 3 per box. I think that's a 6-foot box. You can, you know, just dedicate a small space to nicely amended soil for your tomatoes and just grow them there. Now it'll be a little tight with the fence. And I do plant my stuff more closely together now because of the hydrogen peroxide spray that I recommend and make and use. Really is a game changer for tomato plants. In fact, I think 2 years ago, in a space like this, I grew like 15 or 20 cherry tomato plants, really packed together. Only problem I had was more than I could eat, wasted a lot of stuff. The H2O2 spray really did well. So it's going to be 3 tomato plants along there, 3 along here. I'm going to probably put climbing green beans right up that. That is a closet rack, as I always say, from Home Depot or Lowe's. And that will provide a little bit of shade onto the tomato plants because they aren't, you know, like tropical and love tons of heat. When the ground starts getting too hot with your July summers, high heat, you know, weeks, the tomato plants shut down. So I'm going to try and grow a little bit of shade to, you know, cast down on the ground, keep the plants a little bit cooler, keep them producing. That's not that huge of a deal, but that's just something I'm experimenting with. So that's why the 9 tomato plants are going in here. This is where I typically grow beans. I thought I would mix them together. So we have 9, what is that? 13, 17 plus 8 gets us close to the 25 tomato plants. Now, in saying that, of course, I'm going to end up tucking them all over the place. Oh, there's one more place that I want to invite you all to join us. If you look up, I'll put the link in the video description too with everything else. My Facebook group, Gardening Coast to Coast, I just set that single poll up. We are going to have a tomato contest. Kevin from Epic Gardening is going to participate. Kim from Cali Kim's going to participate. And this is open to anybody who really follows our channels. But that's where I'm going to have the winning tomato. I'm going to over prep that with organic fertilizers, alfalfa, worm castings, more than I would do out here. Production is great, but I want to get a 2+ pound tomato this year. And it's kind of fun. So the rules are set up. They're really relaxed, Gardening Coast to Coast, the Facebook group Kim and I manage. Hopefully we see you there. Some other spaces where I'm using the tunnels. This is an experiment again. This one is staying cold, or basically the baseline of how my beds are through my winters and springs. Warming that one up for different plants that I'll be putting in there. Also uncovered my fig plant. I don't know if some of you have great memories. That was covered up in black paper. It looks like it survived, so that's a black mission fig. So I think I'll get figs this year. That'll be pretty cool. Stuff is starting to come alive. I mean, the blueberry plants are great. Just don't get duped. This is going to be a nice week here, 60, 70 degrees. The soil is warming up to that 50-degree mark for tomatoes and pepper plants, and I'm getting the urge to put them out early and try and protect them. But it is March, I think 9th or 10th, just way, way, way too early. In fact, we're going to go up on the deck. I'll show you what's been growing in the house, how I'm acclimating that to the outdoors. But I have tomato and pepper plants in there that are just too big. I'm actually just starting my tomato plants now, really for my late April, early May plantings. These are the cold frames that I'm using to acclimate plants. And cool weather plants, kales, lettuces, onions, they're all doing really well. One of the reasons you can acclimate directly in these is because they're not crystal clear. So it does block some of the UV rays and the sunlight, so your plants can transition early. The BioGreen Superdome will do the same thing. It's not going to let straight sunlight in, so you can acclimate your plants right in there. You can bring them out, put them in there. You just have to worry about frost. These cannot be out. Well, these can. These are cool weather crops. But your warm weather plants can't take a frost at night. And you also want to start acclimating them if you're leaving them out overnight when the temperatures are really maybe upper 40s, but really 50-degree nights. Because if the soil gets cold, the roots get cold, those warm weather crops just stop growing. All right, let's take a walk up to the side of my house. So my tomato plants are being fed wood ash. I'll be doing a video on how you can use vinegar to neutralize the alkalinity of the potash, if that's a concern. So they got potash, alfalfa pellets. They're getting compost and mulch on the soil. They're going to get some more alpha on there. I'll do that in a 2-minute video just to show you how to do that. Maybe some more potash. I am neutralizing it with vinegar, like I said. The concern with the potash is that it's really high pH. So if you have soil that's a high pH, you could, cause problems for your plant. You'd have to use a lot, but just going to, show you how to mitigate that. These are all the plants that I have growing upstairs. So hopefully they do give me a little bit of street credibility. Herbs, onions, they're going to be cut and they're acclimating now to the outdoors. They're going to be put in the garden probably in 2 weeks. Tray of spinach right in there. Peppers, tomatoes that are going to go in the greenhouse at Freetown Farm. I'm going to be keeping some of those to grow here. They're actually growing in the quart root pouches that we sell at the seed shop. It's a great container to grow tomatoes, peppers, and other plants in because you can reuse it year after year, and it just holds a lot of material. So they're doing really, really well. So they're getting sun now, and they look great now. If I leave these, and this is the first day that they've come outside, if I leave these really beyond an hour in this full sun, it can start damaging the leaves. Your plants do not have protection to the UV rays. I've said this before, I'll say it again because I don't want you to have your plants that do wonderfully. You take them outside, you leave them outside for the day, and then you're wondering why the leaves look white, dried out, and they're starting to die off. It's because the sun killed them. So you really want to do, 15 to 30 minutes the first day. Let them get hit with the sun. I can't give you an exact recipe because if it was cloudy, these would stay out a lot longer, but you slowly want to transition them out over a week. Using a polytunnel or a cold frame is a great way to transition them outdoors. I'm actually going to get some shade cloth and put them over these so that they can stay out longer. Today's just a great temperature, upper 60, 70 degrees. They will enjoy that, but they just can't take the sun for a long time. So keep it in mind. Acclimation videos are some of the lowest viewed videos on my channel, but it's probably the most important thing, is you just don't want to wreck all the great growth you've had going on in your house for the last 8 to 12 weeks. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop, my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and hold off. I know we're getting close. Hold off on planting those warm weather crops. The frost is not out of our way, but you can start getting in your spinach, your lettuces, kales, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, peas for sure, into your garden.